Everyone told me to come to Mostar, see the famous bridge, walk through the old town, get the photographs, and honestly, they were right. Mostar is incredible. But here's the problem. If you fly to Bosnia, take your photo of Stari Most, and catch the bus right back to Dubrovnik, you miss the point. Because within a short drive of this famous bridge are Ottoman villages, a river that literally emerges from a cliffside, medieval stone towns, and one of the most ridiculous waterfalls I've seen on this trip. So I gave myself a simple challenge. Start in Mostar, follow the road out, and see how much of Bosnia I could discover without spending like a tourist. And by the end of this trip, I had a completely different idea of what Bosnia actually is. Let's start with the obvious one, Mostar. You can't really make a video about this part of Bosnia without talking about Stari Most. The famous old bridge rises over the Neretva River, connecting the two sides of the historic city. And yes, you've probably seen this view hundreds of times online. But standing here in person is different. The bridge is surrounded by steep stone streets, old Ottoman buildings, small copper shops, cafes, and the river running underneath everything. It's beautiful. But there's something else happening here that you don't always pick up from a photograph. Mostar carries a huge amount of history in a very small space. The original bridge was built in the 16th century during the Ottoman period. It stood for centuries before being destroyed during the war in 1993. The bridge you see today was reconstructed and reopened in 2004. So when you're standing here looking at this apparently ancient bridge, you're actually looking at something that represents both Bosnia's deep history and its much more recent wounds. And that's something I kept noticing throughout this trip. Bosnia doesn't neatly separate its past. It's all sitting right on top of itself. Ottoman architecture, Austro-Hungarian buildings, Yugoslav concrete, war damage, modern reconstruction, all within a few streets. And then there's the river. The Neretva is this intense, almost fake-looking blue-green running straight through the middle of the city. It's impossible not to stop and stare at it. But after walking around Mostar for a while, I started thinking, what happens if you leave the bridge behind? Because Mostar is the place everyone knows. I wanted to know what was waiting around the corner. This is where the trip changed. Instead of spending the entire day around Stari Most, I started heading out of the city. And almost immediately, the atmosphere shifted. The crowds thinned out. The roads got quieter. The buildings spread out. And these massive, rugged mountains started taking over the horizon. This is one of my favorite things about traveling in the Balkans. You can be standing in the middle of a major tourist attraction 1 minute, and 20 minutes later, you're somewhere that feels like nobody thought to put on Instagram. And that's exactly what I was looking for. Our first stop was Blagaj, and I wasn't ready for what was waiting there. Blagaj is only a short distance from Mostar, but visually, it feels like you've stepped into another world. The Buna River emerges directly from a massive rock face beneath towering cliffs. And sitting right beside that spring is the Blagaj Tekeja, a historic dervish monastery that has stood beside the river for centuries. This is one of those places where you don't need a complicated itinerary. You arrive, you walk toward the water, and the landscape just opens up. The water here is ridiculously clear, and it's actually the source of the Buna River, which eventually joins the Neretva. This was the first moment where I really understood what Bosnia offers to budget travelers. You don't need a huge theme park attraction. You don't need an expensive ticket. Sometimes the landscape is the attraction. And for travelers doing this independently, getting here is ridiculously simple. The local bus service from Mostar to Blagaj costs 1.80 km. That is literally $1 for a 20-minute ride into another world. And that's something I want to keep testing on this trip. How far can you actually get in Bosnia without spending a fortune? Next stop, Počitelj. This is one of those places where the first thing you notice is the stone. Stone walls, stone houses, stone steps, stone towers. The whole town climbs up the hillside above the Neretva Valley. And the higher you climb, the better the view gets. At the top sits the old fortress. Below you, the valley stretches out forever. And for a place that's close enough to Mostar to be visited on a quick day trip, it feels surprisingly quiet. You can still walk around here and feel like you're discovering something. That's a feeling that's getting harder to find in Europe. There are so many places now where you arrive and immediately know where to stand because you've seen the exact photo 50 times online. Počitelj didn't feel like that. You have to climb. You have to wander. And that's when you start noticing the details. The old pomegranate trees growing between stone walls, the historic mosque, and the fortress that has survived centuries of empires. But by this point, I had one more question. What happens when you go looking for Bosnia's big nature experience? If you've seen photos of Kravice Waterfalls, you already know the problem. The photos make it look almost fake. A wall of waterfalls dropping into a massive turquoise pool surrounded by deep green forest. And then you arrive, and it's actually real. The Trebizhat River drops over a series of limestone cascades, creating this natural amphitheater. And suddenly, this trip went from an ancient bridge, to a cliffside river, to a medieval stone town, to this. Look at that variety. Within a tiny area around Mostar, you have 5 completely different world-class experiences. Mostar isn't just a destination, it's the ultimate base camp. Now let's talk real numbers. How much does this actually cost? Because beautiful places are easy to recommend when you don't have to pay the bill. You can pay $50 or more for an organized tour coach, or you can take the local bus for $1. An espresso right on the Neretva River costs about $1.20. A massive plate of fresh cevapi with local bread costs around $5.50. And a clean, private apartment near Mostar's old town can easily be found for $22 to $25 a night. This is where Bosnia hits the broke but traveling sweet spot. Not everything is dirt cheap, but you can have an unforgettable, high-quality trip without spending Western European money. But here's what surprised me most. It wasn't the low prices, and it wasn't even the landscapes. It was how quickly Bosnia started feeling like somewhere I didn't want to leave. Mostar gets you here with the bridge. But once you leave the bridge behind, you start noticing the small roads, the mountain passes, the hospitality, and the quiet places where tour groups don't go. When you travel somewhere famous, it's easy to judge the whole country by one photo spot. You visit the Eiffel Tower and think you've seen France. You visit Dubrovnik and think you've seen Croatia. You visit Stari Most and think you've seen Bosnia. But you haven't. Not even close. The famous place is just the doorway. If I were planning this trip over again with $150 and 4 days, I'd use Mostar strictly as a starting point. Give it 1 day for the old town and the bridge. Then head out. Blagaj for the cliffside spring. Počitelj for the fortress views. Kravice for the waterfalls. And then, keep heading north deeper into the mountains. Did Bosnia live up to expectations? It completely blew them away. Because Mostar turned out to be the beginning of the story, not the end. So now I want to hear from you. If you had 4 days in Bosnia, would you slow down and stay around Mostar, or would you take the risk and head deeper into the country? And if you've been to Bosnia, tell me the spot I missed down in the comments, because I'm already planning part 2. This was never meant to be just one video. In the next episode, we're heading north into the parts of Bosnia that barely show up on European travel itineraries. Mostar was only the beginning. Hit subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.